Assalamu alaikum. Hi everybody. In this short course I'm going to teach you guys a little bit about game programming. We're going to use this tool called Construct 2, which you should see on your desk. Basically this tool is a high-level programming tool to help you create games. It's very non-traditional, so instead of worrying about syntax and coding that you would for C++, this is more of a block diagram sort of thing. To get started, you should either see Construct 2 on your desktop, like so, or if you don't, go to your Start menu and type Construct, and you should see it pop up like this. If you don't see it on either one of these, then the program's not installed on your computer. So if you start up any web browser, I'll start up Chrome, and type Construct 2, we can go directly to the website and download and install it. So you'll come here, and if you need to, you can download it. You go through the download procedure, click download, and then install it. We won't do that since it's already installed, but that is the process. By the end of this course, you guys are going to have built a platformer game similar to Mario, and I'll go ahead and show you what it'll look like. Just so you know, it'll be something like this, where you can have a character moving platforms. Oh my goodness. Where you can jump, die, collect items, fight people. Basically, your project by the end of this course will look similar to this. So I hope you're excited, and let's get started. Go ahead and double click on Construct 2. I already have one, so let me close this. And here we go. Actually, let me do something else. I'll try something else. Sorry about that. Let me do one more thing. Here we go. Fresh copy of Construct 2. So when you first start it up, you'll see this. You'll see a start page, some toolbars on the side. What we want to do is create a new project. You have two ways of doing this. You can either go here, New Project, or you can go to File, New. I'll just go ahead and do it this way. And we want to create an empty project. Once you do that, you'll have a layout screen and all these properties on the left. And I'm going to go through each section to get you guys introduced to how the tool works and familiarize yourselves with it. Some shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts. If you press and hold the space bar and move the screen around, then that'll one thing to move around your layout. If you hold down Control and scroll out with the centerpiece of your mouse, you can zoom in and zoom out. So what we're looking at right here is your layout. Basically, your layout is a level, what your level will look like. So in a game, you'll have multiple levels, level 1, level 2. This will be our level 1. So let's go here to our properties side. The properties side has different features. So this specific layout has layout 1. We want to go ahead and rename that to level 1. Let's do that. And also, because our game is going to be more of a Mario platformer, we want to make a really long shape in this direction, in a horizontal direction. So if you click on New Project, you go to the window size. Actually, that has to do with this dotted line. So whenever you run the program, this is what the screen will look like. It will look like this dotted line. That's all that will be shown on the screen. So to resize your level, you want to go here and layout size. So the width, we want to increase the width to, let's try 2000. And the height, let's make it the screen size. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. If I am, you can always go back and rewatch this. Ooh, it's a little too much, sorry. There. So what we have here is one long platform. So now that we have the setup, what we want to do is now create objects to put inside of our screen in our game. And so let's introduce some ground components where our character, our player, can run on. To do that, you have to understand, here I'll show you. So do that, you double click, and you have this insert object GUI that pops up. We're going to pick a sprite. And a sprite are basically your building blocks for most of the things in this game or project that you're going to create. So you click that, You can place it anywhere. And what's going to pop up is this image. So we want to provide a color for our ground component. And we'll go ahead and make it black. And if you want to change the color to anything else, that's more than fine. You can go here, change it to green, red, anything you like. But I'll stick with black and do it like this. Here you have, you can, if you mess up or you want to start a clear image, you have different properties where you can play around with. So the image size for the object, I can go ahead and change that to 32. Let me pause this for a second. Okay, so now that we have a 32 by 32 block, we'll go ahead and press the X button here, and now we can see our object. So this object you can click on, move it anywhere. This is going to be our ground component in the game. So we can rotate it, or we can actually make it larger, longer, different size. And you'll see later what I mean by our ground component. So what I want to introduce to you guys is the concept of objects and instance of an object. As you can see, when we created this object, it had its own properties on the left. So you have the name, which is just a regular sprite. We'll go ahead and rename it to ground. It has layer, what layer it's going to be on, position, size, instance variables, and so forth. We'll go into the rest of these as they come up. As you notice here on the project side, you have your objects that are currently in your game, which is the only thing we have left, or at the moment, is ground component. And here's our level 1 under layouts. As we create different layouts, we'll have different levels and different ground, different objects. So, of course, the game's not going to have just one ground component. We're going to have multiple ground components. To do that, click on the one that you already have, select it, hold down the control button, and drag. And that creates a new instance of this object. So basically what's happening is, think of, let me try to explain it this way. Let me open up Paint. So, how do you distinguish between objects, or to get an understanding of objects and instances? An object, think of it as a blueprint when you create a house. You have one blueprint, but you can create multiple houses, right? You can use the same blueprint to create as many houses as you want. So that's the same concept as objects and instances. So all of these are ground objects. As you can tell, as I click on it, it still says ground. They all say ground, but they're different instances of object, and that will come in handy later on. So let's go ahead and place these objects across our level. And basically our player is going to have to jump through all of these and get to the end. And you can arrange it however you like, just for demonstration. So now let's create a player. We're not going to focus too much on graphics at this point. We're just going to get the basic mechanics of the game, and then throw in the sound, the background colors, and animation, and so forth. So let's just focus on the mechanics and deal with block diagrams until all that's done. To create another player, or a player object, we need to double click on sprite, click here, or anywhere actually, and our player is going to be, I'm going to make him red. I'm going to resize him to 32 by 64, and close, and put him right here. So, I have a player, I have these ground platforms. Now I want to see the game, how is it going to look to people? Actually, before that, let's assign some behaviors. A behavior can be assigned to any type of object. So this is the ground, this is the player. Actually, no, let's run it. So if you want to run your game, come to the top where you see Run Layout, click it, and it'll show you. So as you can tell, you only see this red object, this black object, and another black object, the ground, and player. You can't really do anything with your mouse, and you notice that this is the only what you see. If you come back to your Construct 2, this is the dotted line that only, so as you can tell, this is your screen, and you can only see 2 platforms, even though you have multiple platforms on this level. So this dotted line represents what you'll see when you play the game. So now we want to add, we want to make our red character move, our player. So what we want to do is add a behavior. So select the red character, click behavior, click this plus button, and here you can assign multiple behaviors per object. And a behavior basically tells your object, gives your objects a sort of functionality. So what we want to assign to this player object is the ability to move. So we'll assign them the platform behavior. So this allows them to run and jump between platforms. And that's what we want. So we'll do that, press the X button, and let's start the layout, run the layout one more time and see what happens. Okay, it wasn't fast enough. If I do that, you see the object just fell down. It just fell off the screen. So what that means is these objects that we have created need to be assigned a behavior to prevent your player from falling off the screen. To do that, we'll click on any one of these ground objects and assign it a behavior. Go to the plus, and what we want to assign is a solid behavior. This will prevent your player from falling down. When you do that, that behavior, solid behavior, is applied to every instance of the object. So this is where your object and instance come into play. So if I try running the game again, so play run, I'll notice that my player is actually on the ground object. And if I use my arrow keys, I can move them. I can jump, I can do all this, I can go to the next platform. But if I try jumping over that, the screen stays still and my character left. So another attribute we want to place on the player is the ability for the screen to rotate with him. So to do that, we'll click on the player, add another behavior. Let's see, add another behavior. Right, there we go. Go to the plus button and assign him scroll to. This way, the player is always the center of focus on your screen. And we'll see how that changes. So we'll rerun the game. Now we have our player. We can use the mouse, not the mouse, the keyboard to run, jump. Let's jump. All right. Going to the next platform, all the way to the end. And the player's reached the end of the game. So those are a couple behaviors we've assigned to the player and to the ground to allow our game to have some functionality. So this is much easier than another programming language like say C++. Construct 2 makes it extremely easy to create games relatively quickly. So it took us about 5 or 10 minutes to get this somewhat of a game going. So the next thing we want to do is, let's see. So your character has these behaviors that we've assigned. So we assigned him the platform behavior. I'll pull this up again. So he has 2 behaviors, platform and scroll to. Under the behavior section, you can see the different properties. So he has max speed, acceleration, jump strength. You can go in and change these and run the game and see how you want to develop your game. If you want your character to be able to jump really high, or you want to be able to go really fast, then this is where you'll change those settings per that character. So I changed the jump strength, and I'm going to rerun the game. And as you noticed, he can jump really high. So these are different properties you can change that will affect the outcome of the game and how your player functions. Let's see. So the next thing I want to show you guys is, let's create another level. How about that? So here's level 1, where the player has to go from the beginning all the way to the end of the level. Once he does get to the end of the level, we want him to move on to level 2. So to create a new level, each level is basically a layout. So this layout we can duplicate and call that level 2. So if we double click here, we notice that, let me scroll out, control, mouse wheel, we had the exact same level format. Let me put this over here. So we don't want each game to be the exact same, so we can always change it up a bit, make it a little more difficult. I don't know, something like this. We'll figure that out later. Now that you have two different levels, you want to be able to connect them. So once your character reaches the end of the level, you want him to automatically go to the next level. To do that, let us create like a checkered box to represent the end of the game. So we'll go, we'll double click anywhere on here, tile background, and let's see, let me try to create a checkered background. Yikes. Maybe I don't remember how to do this. Here we go. I'm going to make something like this. Doesn't have to be perfect. Resize it. So, the checkered flag represents the end of the level. Whenever the character reaches this part, he's finished with this level. If I run the game, showing it on screen, here we go. Let's go through the game. Whoop, too high. I should change that. He reached the end of the level, but nothing happens, right? So there's two things with Construct 2. You have your layouts and you have your event sheets. Your layout represents your levels and what goes on it, your objects. Your event sheets is where you explain interactions in your game. So whenever a certain event occurs, you want an action to follow. So whenever this player reaches this checkered, you want a trigger to occur to tell the game to go on to the next level. And that is done through event sheets, sorry. So let's click on our event sheet. Let me pull this up here. And as I was saying, this defines how our game works using block system. In the event sheet, this is where you'll describe how objects will interact in the game. So if you add an event, you have multiple objects that can create an event. So the system, your ground, your sprite, which is our main character, which we did not rename. So let's do that first. Let me go back here, click on this object, the red player, and we'll name him player, just so we'll make everything clear. Go back to our event. Also, yes, let me change the jump strength. That was a little excessive. And yeah, that should be okay. And we'll create an event. So to create an event, let's create an event for when the player falls off the screen. When he falls off the screen, we want the system to restart. We want the layout to the level to start from the very beginning again. So you'll create an object, and you have multiple properties. So whenever that player, say, is falling or it's collision, you can describe what it can do in the game. So for our purpose, we want to, whenever the character falls off the screen, we want the system to restart the level. So I believe we can find on screen somewhere. Pretty sure it was here. Yep. Okay, let me try one more thing. Yes, so here it is. So you click on your player objects and is on screen. So this is the condition. If your player is on the screen, then do something. We want to make it where your player is off the screen, so we want to invert it. So you right click, click invert. So what this means, this is the condition. If this condition is true, if your player is no longer on the screen, we want an action to occur. And that action is we want the system, or the game engine, to restart us back to the beginning of the level. So we'll click action, the system, on restart. Let me find that. Restart layout. Here we go. And done. So let's test that out. Let's start at level 1, run. So here we go. My character doesn't jump as high anymore. Oop, I fall down. I restart at the beginning of the level. So it does exactly what we want it to do. If you fall off, you restart.